Let's get started, right? Right, so this is the topic I want you to write at the top, solving for X. Write that at the top of your brand new. Let's go through a concept here, right? I'm not going to ask you to take down anything here. I just want you to imagine a scenario here, a very out of the ordinary scenario. Here we live in a society where there's a zombie apocalypse. Zombies are trying to take over the world and eat all the humans. So the only safe place to be is in your house. All the humans are trying to get inside of this house. You'll see it there, and board up the house and live there in safety. We're trying to keep all the zombies away from all the humans, right? Just imagine that scenario. And so it have the little house area here, all right, house. And over here, you see a kind of desert. What we're trying to do is get all the humans on the house side, and all the zombies, we're trying to get them to live in the desert. So just as a very, very simple scenario, you always see a wall here, a brick wall. And the brick wall separates the house area from the desert area. So in the back of your head, zombies belong in the desert and human beings belong on the side with the house, the area of safety. Notice, I know it might be obvious, the house is on the left-hand side of the screen and the desert is on the the house is on the left-hand side of the screen and the desert is on the right-hand side of the screen, if that wasn't obvious already. So I want you all, I'm just going to label some things here, right? You notice this is A, this is B, C, D, and E, right? So it have about 5 items here. You all will notice that B is on the wrong side, zombie B, because zombie B doesn't belong on the house with or on the side with the house. He belongs on which side? The desert side. So if we're doing a little bit of cleanup, right? If we're able to move things around, zombie B belongs on the other side of the wall. So I want you all to imagine this. You grab zombie B and you him over the wall. Now, here's the thing in maths. Whenever you throw something across the wall, you have to make it the opposite. So if you're positive, you become what? Negative. If you're negative, you become positive. Now, I don't care if you're moving things from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, or from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, vice versa, in other words. Once you cross that wall, once you get thrown over that wall, you have to become the opposite. Once again, positive will become negative. Negative will become what? Positive. Quick question. Are D and E on the correct side of the wall? Well, what do you all think? Are D and E on the correct side of the wall? Right? And obviously people are going to say yes, because D and E are clearly zombies. And zombies belong on the side of the desert. So D and E, because they are on the correct side, you don't need to move them. They just remain there. So the moral of the story is this. If you're already on the correct side, leave them there. If something's on the wrong side, obviously you move them to the other side. Now, is person A on the correct side? Well, you will notice that person A is next to their dog. If you look at the notes here, right? The good people, sometimes they have pets, and pets are usually next to a person. Just like if you have a pet dog, because you and the dog are close and cool with each other, the dog will, because it trusts you, will always be next to you. Also, think of it like this. If you are a pet owner Wherever you go, your pet goes with you. Your pet follows you around and is always next to you. So A is on the correct side. And of course, you notice person A has a pet dog. Is person C or item C on the correct side? No. Person C is a regular person and he belongs on the side of the house. Now, if we take C and throw him across, he will become the opposite. But here's the thing. You are attached. People are attached to their pets. So we cannot take person C alone and throw them across. We have to move the dog, his pet, with him. Think of it like this. If you take person C and try to separate them from the dog will be sad. You don't want the pet to be sad. So when you're grabbing C and moving them across, if that person has a pet, make sure and throw the pet across as well. And of course, it will become the opposite. If anything is positive, it becomes negative and vice versa. Now, once you get all the humans on one side, eventually food is going to run out. Remember, it's a zombie apocalypse. So once all the humans are on one side with their pets, I mean, people love their pets, right? But eventually, food is going to become so scarce. And eventually, the humans are going to say, sorry, boy, we have to get rid of you. So at the end of the question, the pets, because it doesn't have enough food in the house, you have to make choices. It's either them or you. So then you throw the pet across at the end of the question. Now, here's the thing. When you are separating from your pet, that is a last resort. That is a last resort, right? You only do that at the end of the question. Your pet is going to become very sad. But here's the thing. In between you and your pet, when you're throwing across the pet at the end of the question, your pet is always a secret multiply. And when you throw across a multiply, you will get a divide. But the sign of the pet will never change. In other words, even though you're throwing across your pet, he's still going to end up loving you, despite the fact that you're throwing him across the wall to the zombies. So keep this in the back of your head. You're going to throw the pets over the wall. You're going to separate from them only at the end of the question. That's our last resort. And your pets will always become a divide. Always, always. Because he's a secret multiply. And when you throw something across the wall, it becomes the opposite, divide. But if your pet is positive, he will remain positive. If your pet is negative, it will remain negative, even though it's going across on the other side. Your pet will stay loyal to you. His feelings towards you will stay loyal. Okay? I know that's a lot to take in, right? Here's what I want everyone to do for the time being, because we got to put this into action now. I only want you to take this down. You don't have to draw the picture. In fact, drawing the picture is not going to really help you. Take that down. Let me know when you are finished, and then I'll show you how to apply it. You see the people, the human beings, anytime you have a human being, they represent the letter X. Just in case you didn't know. Human beings represent the letter X in the equation, like you'll have 2x plus 3. The pet is whoever is next to the letter X. Whoever is touching X is the pet. The zombies will not be next to the humans. Remember, the zombies don't want to be next to the humans because the zombies trying to eat them. So the zombies will never be next to the people. Only pets. If you see the letter X and somebody is touching the letter X or right next to the letter X, that's the pet. And also, all equations have an equal sign. The wall represents the equal sign. The left-hand side of the equal sign is the house. Anything to the right of the equal sign is the desert. Okay, so let's try a question. I know some of you are probably excited to see how this relates to an actual question. Let's go, right? Now I'm going to have to use some abbreviations here, right? I'm going to use H for human. So anytime you see the letter H, that's for human. Whenever you see the letter P, that's going to be for pet, right? P for pet, H for human, and obviously Z is going to be for zombie. So here we have an equal sign. If I ask you to solve for X, that means you want X alone on the left-hand side. When I say X alone, I mean X alone. You don't want any pets next to X, right? The humans must be on one side alone. So I'm going to point to this. Now, the most obvious thing here is that this X here, he is a human, right? The X represents the human. The -2, is the -2 a pet or a zombie? Is the -2 a pet or a zombie? What do you think the -2 is? Right? Remember, the -2 is right next to the human, right? He touching the human is right next to the human. So this -2 is a pet. Now, between a pet and a human, there's always a secret multiply. But you know that from last week. Whenever you have two things touching in maths and there's nothing in between, it's a secret what? Multiply. This +4, you notice I just didn't say it was 4. Remember, a couple weeks ago, I told you everything has a sign. Like, you just can't say 4. If it's +4, say it's +4. If it's -4, say it's -4. You notice how this +4 is separated from the human? He is nowhere in contact with this human. So he is definitely a zombie. And this -12, well, he doesn't have an X. He doesn't have a pet. I mean, he's clearly what? A zombie, right? That's how I write my Z, by the way. And this equal sign is what? The wall. Remember, the left-hand side of the wall is the house area, the area of safety. Everything to the left, the right, sorry, that's the blue arrow, is the desert. Everyone writing everything like how I have it there. Everything. Right? When you finish, just write an equal sign, a couple equal signs underneath here. That's up. You don't know how much equal signs you're going to need, so I'm just going to write a few, right? Right. Write it in. I know this is like training wheels, and when you get really good at it, you're going to be able to do it in your head, like get the answer in your head. Believe me. Right. So let's figure out who we have to move across. Now, this +4, we don't, right? We don't want him on this side because he's on the house side. So I'm just going to circle the +4 because we're going to throw him across. You can probably put a little arrow to show that you're throwing him across, okay? The -12, do we need to move him? No, the -12 is a zombie, and he on the correct side. He already in the desert side. For the time being, everything is good. We don't have to throw across the pet. We leave the pet for the end of the question. Now, here's the thing. In the next line, I want to show that we throw across the zombie, the +4. So a lot of people will ask, when you throw across the +4, do we throw him right here, just after the equal sign? Or do we have to throw him far past the -12? Where is the correct place to throw him on the other side of the wall? I'm just going to clear this up one time. It doesn't matter. When you're throwing across a zombie, you already care where he land on the other side. You just want him on the other side of that wall, right? You're too busy too hungry, too scared to care where that zombie lands. So if he lands before the minus 12 or after the minus 12, you couldn't be bothered. You will get the same answer, right? But how it have plenty space after the minus 12, I might as well just throw him over there. So this is how the question looks now. You have minus 2x, you and your pet, right? You have minus 12 here. He didn't go anywhere. When you throw across positive 12, positive 4, remember when you throw across something, it has to become the opposite. When you throw across the zombies, they become the opposite. Throw across positive 4, you get what? Minus 4. You notice I change the positive to a negative. Everyone take down that line. And this is where last week work comes into play, right? I want you all to add up minus 12 and minus 4 now, because you could combine these two to get one answer. We spent the first week of class learning to add and subtract positive and negative numbers. So do me a favor, add minus 12 and minus 4 and put the answer over here, right? Work it out, work it out. Right, a lot of people are like, I could see the revising, so that's good, right? Minus 12 minus 4 will give you minus 16. Remember, when signs are the same, you add, and then you put back the sign of the larger value. So here you have minus 2 and the x. So look how good things looking now. You notice it have no zombies in the house area. The house side is safe, right? It's just you and the pet. But times are now it's coming down to the end of the question, right? Zombies are in the desert. You and your pet are in the house. But then Tuesday comes and you say, food is running low, Mr. Pet. I am sorry, Mr. Pet. I'm going to have to take you. Your pet is minus 2. And you throw him across the wall. Of course, tears flow. You cry as you throw him across. And the pet at the end of the question has special rules. The pet always becomes a divide. I have it here. I have it here. You see that at the bottom of the thing there, the screen. And the sign of the pet doesn't change. If the pet is negative, when you reach on the other side, he's going to remain negative. If he was positive, he remains positive. The only change the pet makes is that he goes from being a multiply, and he will always end up being a divide. So you have minus 16 on this side, the zombies, and you throw the pet. Look, the divide sign here. The secret multiply change to a divide, and the pet goes underneath, and he remains negative 2. The sign of the pet doesn't change. And now you are on one side by yourself. You are on, notice at the end of the question, the human is on this side by himself. He has no pets, no nothing. It's just X. Let's finish out the question. 16 divided by 2 is 8. When you divide 2 minus, you get a positive. You are finished. You have just done your first solving for X question, right? On a scale of 0 to 100%, how much you think you understand so far? I'm not looking for 100. If it's 100, I'm happy, right? On a scale of, for recording purposes, I'm going to change this question up. Just give me a few seconds, just to, cool erase tool there. recolor. All right, so I'm going to put the equal sign here. I'm going to put -5. I'm going to use -5 minus 4x is -11. Try that question. Figure out, remember, signs are always to the left of the value. Yes, I put plenty negative signs on purpose. That is okay, right? Remember, the humans are the letter X. Figure out, put H for humans, put P for the pets, and Z for the zombies. And of course, the equal sign is the wall. Let's see. Well, the X here is a human. The -4 is right next. Now, this is -4. So the pet is -4. I just want to put a little underscore brackets there. So you'll know that when I look at the pet, I don't neglect the minus sign, right? Always keep your eye on the sign. We know the equal sign is the wall. This -5 is the zombie, and this -11 is a zombie, right? So this here is the house area, and this side is the desert. Now, the obvious person we have to throw across is this zombie. The zombie doesn't belong in the house area. When you throw him across, just make sure he crosses what? The wall. He could fall before the -11 or after. I'm going to be throwing him after. I'm going to pretend I'm really strong, and I use all my strength to get him over that wall. So I fling him real far. When you throw across a zombie, don't forget to change his sign, okay? Right, I don't know how much equal signs I will need, so I just draw a few walls underneath. I hope everyone have up to here at least. I'm gonna make a mistake on purpose, right? This is a real common mistake. So you have -11 on this side, right? I'm gonna use green. I want to use green for this. So we have -11 here. We throw across the -5. Nobody should fall for this trick. The -5 changes to +5. And who is left on this side? Just the pet and the human. But I'm going to do something wrong on purpose. The pet and the human. Who could tell me what my intentional mistake is? I did something wrong intentionally. What is it? Right? Right. And some people picked up on it. This minus sign, it disappeared in the next line. It should not disappear. And the pet was negative. We didn't move the pet. We didn't do anything involving the pet. So why forget the negative sign, right? It's just that people are not accustomed seeing an equation starting with a negative. So your brain is kind of by default, forget a negative now. You have to get out of that habit, okay? So we're going to add up this side now. Let's add up -11 and 5. You should be able to do this really easy by now. -11 plus 5 is -6, if I'm not mistaken, right? When the signs are different, you minus and then put back the sign of the larger value. So now the zombies are on one side. The zombie is -6, and now the human and the pet are here. So it's coming down to the end of the question. Food is running low. The human looks at the pet and said, boy, it's time to go across that wall. There's only one tin of tuna, and I'm not sharing it with you. Now remember, your pet will put on its sad eyes. The pet is always a secret multiply. When you throw across a multiply, you get what? A divide. And the sign of the pet does not change. If your pet is -4, he will forever, at the end of the question, this only holds at the end of the question, when you're separating the pet from the human, only when you're separating them, and it will only happen at the end of the question. Whatever sign the pet have, he keeps that sign. He just turns to a divide. And now, to finish off the question, Well, you could use your calculator, and you don't really have to use your calculator, but when you divide two negatives, you will get a positive, and 6 on 4 could reduce to 3 on 2, or you could put positive 1.5, or where it is positive 1.5. Any one you wish. The truth is the examiner doesn't care if it's an improper fraction, a decimal, or a mixed fraction. For this class, you choose anyone, you're going to get the same amount of marks, right? And based on the answers that I'm seeing, right, most people got it correct, not everybody, but this is just your second question, right? Take down, if you got it wrong, take down the working, not just take down the working, but see where you could have gone wrong, make a mental note, and take it as a win, right? 10 seconds, and I'm changing this. Everyone try this question. Now you will notice that the human and the pet are on the wrong side. If you look at this question, the human and the pet are on the wrong side. And whenever a sign is missing from the question, please make sure and write it in. Like this is 5x. Is this entire expression positive or negative? Well, if you look to the left and you don't see anything, put a positive. So here's what, you're going to have to throw across, you have to save the pet and the human first. You're not separating the pet and the human right now, but that pet and human, get them out of the desert. Grab both of them as a unit and throw them across the wall into the house area. I just want you to give the question a try, right? You don't have to get it correct. You just have to try. Take 2 minutes and send your answer on the chat. So first things first, let's save that pet and human. They're on the wrong side. We gotta get them out of that area. So the rescue team comes here. The pet and the human as a whole. Now the pet and the human together, we're not separating them. And this pet and human combination is positive. So when we throw them across on the other side, they will become what? Negative. When we reach on the house side, oh no, there's a zombie here. This minus 17. What he doing in our house? He will have to be thrown across. Now, I don't care where the minus 17 lands. He can land before the positive 3 is a zombie also, but at least the positive 3 is in the desert where he belongs. Now, I don't care if you throw the minus 17 before the positive 3 or after the positive 3. But won't there be a space over here? Because the pet and the human leaving. So I'm just saying that we should probably just utilize that space. Doesn't really matter if you throw him there or further. Let's put a few equal signs here. I don't know how much I will need. All right. So let's make a little switch there. The pet and the human come on this side. They become minus 5x. You have a positive 3 here. When you throw the zombie across, minus 17 becomes positive 17. I hope everyone there have all the signs correct. I'm confident that you made the switch, meaning that you throw everybody on the correct side, right? But the signs, you may have done something wrong with the signs. Anyway, check it through. Make sure you have no errors. Let's combine 17 and 3. Positive 17 plus 3 is positive 20. That's easy. So look at you. The human, you and your pet, on the house side, everything going good. And then Tuesday morning come, and it have 1 tin of tuna left. And then you turn to the pet and say, you had to go. So you grab Bingo, and you throw him across, right? So remember, your pet will always change to what? A divide, right? Your pet will always turn to a divide, right? It goes underneath the zombie. So you have positive 20 divided by, and your pet sign never changes. When you're separating him from you at the end of the question, he will remain minus 5. A loyal pet he is. 20 divided by 5 is 4. A positive divided by a minus is a minus. dn. That's the end of the question. X is on the left-hand side by himself, and everyone else is on the other side. Now, I know some people have already asked, doesn't matter which side X ends up on. And your teacher might say it's okay to leave X, like you might call this side the house and the other side the desert, right? But let's keep it simple, right? If you do it like that, you'll get it correct. Remember, this is a kind of brand new topic. I don't want to confuse people. So to keep it simple, your house will always be on the left-hand side of the equal sign, and the desert will always be on the right-hand side. If the pet and the house are on the wrong side, at the beginning of the question, get them to safety at the beginning of the question. Get them on the whole side at the beginning of the question, which will always be the left-hand side, always, for my class, right? So look for your errors and, all right, well, a little brain relaxer here. Everyone gets to pick any 3 letters. So I hope you guys, this is our first pick. I hope you guys got gems of your choice. All right? Good luck. Any 3 letters. Any 3 letters of your choice. Let me know in the chat or oh, by the way, somebody, in case you didn't get any gems, this soldier here, look at him, this soldier here, he just found 1 red and 2 yellow gems on the ground. So if you're on team red, you get 1 extra red. If you're on team yellow, you get 2 extra gems, right? So thank goodness for this soldier. Right, so add it up to your count there. Let's move on. Okay. Everyone write down this question. This question actually looks simpler than, this question is actually, simpler than all the questions we did so far. But for some reason, it's so simple, it just gives problems because your brain doesn't expect something so simple. Take it down, right? That's going to put in, obviously, this side is the house side. And this is the desert, right? Right. Now, the problem with this question, as I just mentioned, is the simplicity of the question. You notice everybody kind of already on the correct side. You notice that at the beginning of the question, nobody is really on the wrong side. So initially, you don't have any work to do. He's a zombie. This here is the human, the X is the human, and the P is the pet. So the zombies, the 1 zombie that in the question, he in the desert already, and the pet and the human are already on the house side in safety. So the only thing you really have to do in this question, right, is separate the pet from the human. Tuesday comes, and then the human says, hey, Mr. Pet, it's time for you to go in. That's the only thing left to do in the question. So the pet goes across, he becomes a divide, but his sign does not change. 21 divided by 7 is 3. When you divide 2 minus, you get a positive. So you see how simple this question was? There was no major setup throwing across. The pet was the only person you had to throw across. And once again, the reason for that is because the zombies and everything else was already on the correct side. Okay? So take down that question, right? I just wanted to show you that because for some reason, people will be able to do all the hard questions. And when you see the simplest question, your brain is freeze up, right? I want everyone to try this question. Now, the point of this question is that it have more than 1 pets and humans. Also, you notice it have no letter X. You see the thing about it, your teacher doesn't always have to use X. He can use any letter. So All I did was replace the letter X with A. A is the new human. Give the question a try. You don't have to get it 100% correct. But see if you can figure out who you need to move first in the question. Pretend it's a real scenario. House and zombies. Let's pretend you're in that war. And start extracting and moving across items. Just see what you come up with. Giving you 5 minutes. Good luck. What you want to do is put in all the missing signs. Like if something is missing a positive, you might as well physically write it in, right? Like this 9. If you look to the left, you don't see anything. So he's already positive 9. Now, the A is a human. And of course, the pet is -7. You have another human here. And the pet is -5. And this -20 is a zombie. Right? Remember, the humans are the letters you're trying to solve for, and the pets will always be the items next to the human. Let's put in a few equal signs. Like I said, I'm not too sure how much I will need. Right. So let's begin to put everybody on the correct side. This pet and human combination here, they're in the desert, right? Remember, they are -5A. They are in danger. We need to move them across, get them to safety, right? When you're throwing them across, just get them across the wall. It doesn't matter if you throw them right after the equal sign or far. Just get them across the wall to safety. This +9, he's in the wrong area. He's in the house area. We got to get him out of there. He's a danger, right? So this +9 zombie, we have to throw him across, right? So, of course, when you throw across whole combinations of pets and humans, remember, right now, we're not separating any pets from humans. We're grabbing them as a whole and throwing them across. So when you do that, the signs have to change. It's only when you're physically separating the pet from the human, from its owner, then it becomes a divide, and then the sign doesn't change. So let me know if you all have up to here at least, right? The -7A, this pet and human, they're already on the correct side. They're on the house side, so we didn't move them. This -20, who is a zombie, he's already on the correct side. And we'll get different color here. When you throw across the -5A, you're going to get +5A. You can write it here if you wish, right? The +5A. But if you're going to throw across the zombie, a space is going to clear up here. When you throw across the +9, you get what? How much people had up to there? You can raise your hands. You had to have the signs correct as well. Huh? You can't just say, oh, I almost had it correct. If it's positive, you have to make sure I'm positive. If it was a negative, you had to put the negative. And I was kind of correct. Right? Right. Do yourself a favor. I'm not going to work out the whole thing as yet. You're going to get some time. And you could combine these two to get one answer, because when you're adding and subtracting, you could squeeze two things together or summarize two things if they have the same type of letter. He have an A and he have an A. And of course, -20 -9 has no letters. So you can squish these two to get one answer, squish these two to get one answer, and then try to get the human alone on one side. You're going to have to get rid of that pet eventually. Good luck. Now, you're going to realize if you revise the work, right? Like how to add and subtract fast. The question is like 10 times easier, right? Right. Good day. That's the one. So, +5A -7A is -2A. Once again, I have to kind of make the assumption that, hey, I revised my work. Sir taught me how to add and subtract the first week of class. I revised it. I come fully prepared, right? -20 -9 is -29. So you see, we only end up with 2 items now. The one zombie in the question is -29. And now on this side, you have a human and one pet. The -2 is the new pet, and the A is the new human. Tuesday has come. 1 tin of tuna. The human says, Mr. Pet, Mr. -2, who's a secret multiply? We have to separate from each other. You're going across that wall and not sharing the tuna with you, right? So you have -29 here. The pet goes across. The pet always goes underneath the zombie as a divide. And the sign of the pet never changes. Despite your horrific actions, the pet never stops loving you, right? It remains a minus. Loyal. Minus divided by a minus is a positive, and 29 divided by 2, I think that's 14.5 if I'm not mistaken. For some reason, I need my calculator here. Yeah, you get positive 14.5 or 14 and a half or positive, how much? If you just want to leave it as positive 29 on 2 as an improper fraction, knock yourself out. Just make sure you have your positive and your choice of representation after. And that's the end of the question. How much people got that correct without my help? You can raise your hands without any help from me. Try this one here as a practice question. Instead of the letter X or the letter A, the new human is the letter Y, right? Have fun. 5 minutes, and I'm going to jump in to work it out, right? First thing to do, label all the zombies, label all the pets, label all the humans. Right, so this is the house area, desert. Right, the humans are the letter Y. The pets will be right next to the humans. And of course, -20 is a zombie, and this -8 is a zombie. So I hope you have that portion correct, right? So I think it have a pet and a human in danger right now, right? If you look at it, I think you have a pet and a human in danger. That's this guy, that's this couple here. Look at them. This -3 and Y, they are in the desert side. So you have to get them across first. And this zombie, well, he's in the house area. You got to get him out of that housing area. So you have 2 people to switch across. Right? You should have a couple minutes. This question. Who is not moving? Well, the minus, oops, that's a terrible color there. The -4 and the Y not moving because they are on the correct side. The -8, who is a zombie, is on the correct side. So those 2 items there, they're not moving. When you throw across the -22, that zombie becomes +22. When you throw across the combination of the -3Y, the pet and the human, remember, you're not separating the pet from the human as yet. They're still together, but when you throw them across, that combination becomes +3Y. Hope everyone has up to there. Let's start combining like terms. -4Y plus 3Y. Signs are different, so we minus. So we're going to get -1Y. We put back the sign of the larger. +22 -8. Sign, so if I have 22, that should be what? 14. +14. I hope you all have. All right, that's now just making sure. Right. So we're good so far. But we're not finished. Remember, Tuesday has come. You have the human and the pet. The pet is -1 this side. So now you have to separate the pet from the human. Food is running low. The pet always becomes a divide, always, when it goes to the other side, and it's -1. His sign will never change. 14 divided by 1 is 14. A positive divided by a minus is a minus. That's the final answer. Who got it correct without my assistance? Zero assistance from Lisa. All right. If you got it wrong, you know what to do. Look for where you could have gotten it wrong. You know, make sure you mentally understand it and take down the correct word. All right, so let's see what's going on here with this one. So when we get the music going here, oh, it has some preference to the red and black. Some favoritism here. So the red and black teams, you get to choose 2 letters. Unfortunately, yellow, green, and blue, you only get to choose 1 letter. Let me know your choice on the chat, guys. Right? Right, so A, B, and C. Try this question. I'll give you a little trick in this question, a very small trick. Minus x is the same thing as minus what x? You notice the human here doesn't have a pet, doesn't have a number. But we know from last week and the week before, minus x is the same thing as minus 1x. Make sure and put the 1, make sure and put the 1 before you start the question. Good luck. Going to give you 5 minutes again, right? It should be getting easier by now. Right? Remember, this is the same thing as minus 1. Let me write it in a different color so we know we add it in here. So that's minus 1x. So we know he's a zombie. This here is the pet and human. Pet and human. Zombie. This zombie doesn't belong on the house inside. Get him across. And this pet and human combination, oh, they are in danger. So we have to move them across to the other side. So who is not moving in this question? Well, initially. Well, it seems that this minus 1 and x already on the house inside. This minus 3 zombie, they were on the correct side at the beginning of the question. So they're not moving. Minus 8x, throw it across, you get positive 8x, minus 35, positive 35. Hope you have up to there correct, right? Once again, when you're throwing somebody across, doesn't really matter where they land. Just make the appropriate changes when they land on the other side. Right? So combine like terms now. Minus 1x plus 8x is positive 7x. Minus 3 minus 3 plus 35. I think that is how much? Positive 32. Right? Question is not finished. The Tuesday has come and the pet, he has to be separated from his owner, right? So the pet is always a secret multiply. When you throw him across, it becomes a divide, but the pet's sign does not change. It remains positive 7. You can leave your final answer as 32/7. Remember, when you divide 2 positives, you get a positive, right? Or some people might not be happy with the improper fraction. You can put it as a mixed fraction, right? I think if you put it as a mixed fraction, like instead of getting positive 32/7, you're going to get positive 4 and 4/7, if I'm not mistaken. I would not recommend you put this as a decimal, as you'll be getting a crazy decimal. And I don't think the examiner would appreciate that. How much people got this correct without my help? Like I said, it should be getting a little bit easier now. It should be starting to fall into place now. All right, so let's go. Let's move on. Let's try another question. All right, sorry, I'm rushing some people. Just take up. Now, this question here, the only difference is that it have brackets. Take down this question, and I just want to start you off with the question, right? Well, we did how to expand brackets the other day. Remember how you expand brackets? You use the N, the L, and the S. So when you see a question with brackets, the first thing you want to do if they ask you to solve for X is get rid of those brackets. So remember, this is positive 5 here, and in between here and here, there's a secret multiply. So what we have to do is multiply everyone inside the brackets by positive 5 first to get rid of the brackets. And last week I showed you how to do this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. So positive 5 by minus 2x is minus 10x. And positive 5 multiplied by minus 8 is minus 40. You notice what happens now? The question has turned into a regular, boring question. So the moral of the story is, whenever they ask you to solve for X and you have brackets, get rid of the brackets first. Multiply out the brackets first. And once you do that, the brackets will obviously disappear, just like last week. And once the brackets disappear, it's a regular, boring question from this point. Finish off the question. We all know by now you don't have to start writing in which side is the house, and you don't have to write in which side is the desert. You can do those things in your head now. See if you can imagine who is the zombies, who is the people, who is the pets, right? I hope you all were able to do it with imagining only. This minus 2x is definitely a pet and a human. And this minus 40 is a zombie. Both of them are on the wrong side. The zombie belongs on this side, and the pet and the human belongs on the other side. Right? So this minus 10x and this minus 13, they were already on the correct sides of the equal sign at the beginning of the question. They are not required to move. A minus 2x, the pet and the human, when it goes across on the other side, it becomes positive 2x. And minus 40 zombie, throw it across, get positive 40 zombie. Start combining like terms. Minus 10x plus 2x is minus 8x. And minus 13 plus 40 is positive 27. We are not finished, right? The last person to throw across is the pet, right? Because the human is X, food is running low. You get positive 27 divided by minus 8. The sign of the pet did not change at the end of the question, right? So when you divide a positive by a minus, you ultimately get a minus. You can leave your answer as a mixed fraction. Convert it to improper fraction. a mixed fraction, sorry, if you convert it to a mixed fractions, you're going to get 3 and 3/8 minus 3 and 3/8. Right? Any one is going to be correct, whether you leave it as an improper or mixed. Right? No sane examiner is going to care. How much people got it correct without my, without me jumping in? All right, so let's move on. Let's see what's going on. Coming close to the end of class, guys. Don't worry. Don't worry. All right. Let's skip this one. All right. So let's do a team color exercise here. Let's take a class poll, right? So we'll see which team is the most popular. The team with the highest amount of members gets 10 extra gems. And the least popular team gets 5 gems. Okay? So let's take a poll, right? Vote on what your team color is. And vote red, yellow, green, blue, or black. Right? There is a reward for the most popular and the least popular. Everybody else in between gets no extra gems. Right, let's share the results. You're gonna be surprised, guys. The most popular is the black team. So everyone who's on the skeleton team, the black team, 10 extra gems. Add 10 to your collection. And the least popular was the green. Green, 5 extra gems, right? So congratulations to the black team and the green team. Everyone else, unfortunately, gets no extra gems. All right. So, guys, I hope you had some fun today. Next week, we have much more harder questions when it comes to solving for X. Today was just the baby questions, right? So, make sure, revise everything from the first class. For those who missed the first class, make sure you watch the recordings. And guys, I'll see you all next week. And some of you all have English at 11:30. Thanks for playing along, guys. And thanks for coming to class. And, today was pretty good. There were no trolls in class today. It was a good day. Take care all. Have a good one. Have a good Saturday.